everyone. So I am Marlena with Phoenix Rising, and today I have my beloved friend and guest. He is going to join us to speak to us about meditation and breath. And so I am inviting Ryan to join us. Hi, Ryan. Welcome in. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. I mean, I wouldn't miss this for the world. I'm so excited to be here. I really feel like this is going to be a very, very important, just a very wonderful session that we're going to have, just talking about meditation and breath work and how important it is, not just to the lovely people here, but how it's also impacted us as well. So I can't wait. Got so amazing things that we're going to be talking about.
Yes. Also sharing how we taught ourselves how to meditate, because I don't know about you, but I know I had a difficult time at first. But yeah, so we're just going to kind of share some insights about how we started meditation and also about breath work too. All right. So I will start off with asking you a question. And today that question is, what is breath work and why is it important?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm going to talk about breath work and what it means to me. But I think for me, breath work has always been an intimate experience between my mind, body, heart, and with God. And I think that when I first started it, it was almost like I was discovering what my body could do. I was discovering how I could tap into my body and breath and be able to find space within myself. And I feel like for me, breath work has always been one of the core tenets, the foundation, the scaffolding almost of the meditation experience. Because if your breath work isn't there, then it can feel harder sometimes to connect to spirit, God, whatever it is you want to call it, right? We're going to be talking all about those things later on. But I think meditation for me was always going to be about, having intentions. And at first, it really was about trying to overcome my stresses, trying to relax and really trying to, once again, find myself. I feel like that's the thing that most, because when I started, I was around 15, 16. It's a lot of the things that most people those ages struggle with, finding themselves, and breathwork is one of those places that I started with, and it really helped tremendously. So, why do I feel like it's so important? I mean, wow. I think it's so important because, wow, I think when I look back on like society and some of the problems that are plaguing the world right now, I think a lot of it stems from the inability to be present, to be focused, to really be tapped in and attuned to the will of God and to true love, true harmony, and all these things that people are striving for. And I think when you're able to really harmonize your breath with the present moment and just to drop all those expectations, drop the burden, drop all of that, you're really able just to tap into that quiet voice within from which everything flows. And I always like to call this like the stream of living water or spirit. I think that's what breath truly is. It's spirit. It feels alive. It feels like it's flowing. It just feels creative. It feels like it's a life force. And I think for the longest time, I didn't know what to call it, because I was like, I learned in science that it's oxygen, and that was all it really meant to me. And throughout the years, I learned to really see it as something that could be personal to me. So, I mean, I'm gonna start off there. I mean, I've got a lot more things that I want to go into.
No,
really, I've got notes here, but
that's definitely a good start.
yes.
I resonated with a lot of what you were saying too, you know, and really it's like any age, breath work is good. We use breath in so many different things when we're stressed out.
Oh yeah.
Normally it's like, you know, and that is pushing out some like stagnant energy that has been stuck, that's kind of also creeping into some emotions and stuff like that. So
yes.
We're just like, and then it's like sometimes if you're having anxiety, you're just like slowing it down to find your center, find yourself, and kind of step within. So to me, breath is also consciousness. It's your consciousness level. And if you breathe shallow, like most of us have breathed only into our shoulders and our upper chest. So we're forgetting about the rest of our body. We're ignoring the rest of our because we're not taking that breath deep within, you know? And so when, to me, it's like where that level of consciousness is where you're breathing. So if you're breathing shallow, your consciousness level is going to be shallow.
Yes.
As you take breath deeper in, your consciousness level rises because of all that's happening. You're not just taking the breath of life in, you know, which, yes, I agree is also like spirit. You're also engaging all these chemical aspects in your body at the same time. You're, you know, as you breathe in, there's like this gas chemical stuff that's happening in your lungs that goes into your blood system, and your you know, you're
like that whole process.
And then it's like oxygenating your body, and you can bring more oxygen to your brain, into your blood, and all of that. So there's definitely more than just breathing. There's so much more to it than just hey, I took a breath.
Yeah, like we take it for granted, don't we? I really do feel like we see breath as just oxygen or something that naturally exists in the atmosphere, but I feel like we've really forgotten what it truly has to be. And like you said before about it being consciousness, it's like if we are without oxygen, or without spirit as I like to call it, for I think even seconds, and you're losing consciousness, you're losing awareness, you're shutting down. And it just shows you that if you're without something so pivotal and you're shutting down, then there must be something really, really important. So, you know, bringing it back to that on why I feel like we need to speak more about it, you know, why this is the first podcast episode. I think that is exactly it. It starts with the breath, doesn't it?
And breath actually also helps to kind of like settle the mind down. So from what I've experienced, because I started with meditation before I started really getting into breath work, and I noticed like when you're doing some breath work, it slows things down, it slows your mind down, and it makes it much easier to meditate. So it is a very important first step. All right, well, I will like hand the mic over to you, so now it's your turn.
Okay, well, I do feel like you kind of answered a lot of this. I was wondering if you had like any other follow-ups or any other sort of distinctions or things that you wanted to speak about what breathwork means to you. You know, why do you feel like it's important?
So for me, because I am working on getting certified to become a breathwork facilitator, and I'm actively working with people already, and I'm noticing not only with myself and with my classmates, but also with the people that I'm working with, how it's helping them. It's such a gentle way of healing, and it's a gentle way of bringing things that we've had trapped in our bodies, like trauma, emotions, anything that's been trapped that has been literally holding us back. It gently allows it to come to the surface, so we're able to kind of like process stuff that we're just like, okay, we couldn't process this emotion when we were younger, so we just kind of stuffed it down and buried it into, I guess, like our heart space, you know? And then what happened? Our heart started to shut down, and we're not feeling as much love anymore for ourselves, for other people. And it's like, at that time, part of our brain is just like, well, I want to feel that. I love feeling love. I love, you know, having connection with people. But there's a part of us that's kind of like, almost like scared to have that connection because we've been hurt. And so breath work is a gentle, beautiful way of bringing things to the surface to be cleared out. And I think what's really important is making sure, and I'm going to emphasize on this before we move on, is making sure that when you're doing breath work, that you're finding not only a facilitator, but a class environment, because you're also going to be working with other people, with other breathers, that suits your needs. That I cannot emphasize how much feeling safe in a space.
100%. Yes.
That is so important, especially if you've had trauma. Like, I've had a lot of trauma in my life. We'll get into that later down the road.
Sure we will.
But, you know, like the people that I'm working with, teachers, mentors, class, and stuff, they're very loving, and there's such a loving space that I do feel safe. I feel safe to speak up and share my experience with the breath work that we're doing in the class and what it's bringing up for me, because that's my way of being able to heal and process these emotions and whatever is coming up. And still stand in my authenticity of who I am versus,
I love that,
what you know, other people expected me to be like. And so that for me is something that I look for whenever I'm entering a room. Is the first question is, do I feel safe? And so I want people to like understand that is the most important thing when you go into a room, is make sure that you internally feel safe in that room. And your body already knows, because it picks up energetic signatures without you even realizing. It's kind of almost like little invisible feelers, you know? Kind of like, some people can relate where they walk into a room and their hair stands up and they're okay, something's happening in here. Or you walk into a room and you can feel that people might be angry or whatever, you know?
Yes, can feel it.
Yeah. So it's like, that's when you don't feel safe. And your body tells you first, but your mind tries to think logically about, is this real? You know?
Does it make sense?
Just because of the things that we've been taught through our life, we're not really sure if what we're sensing is actually real or if it's all in our head. And I can tell you, it's not. You are not crazy. What you're sensing is another sense that we've been deprived of. And it's coming online, and it's very active, and it's part of who we're becoming as we heal. So,
I mean, okay, I've got so much that I want to say. I think the first follow-up I want to ask, do you think that breath work is helping us to connect to that sense? Like, I know that you ended on that note about like the senses and experiences, things like that. Do you feel like breath work helps us to connect more to that, whatever that is? You know, describe what it is first of all. And
so for me, that connection that you're talking about, that's like the connection more to source, God energy, where you're having that deep inner connection and you're feeling that God is around you, within you. And then you start seeing God in everything, because you're like, wait, plants are living, animals are living, and when you look at people, it's like you can see some good in people, and even the people, I'm not saying that people are good and bad. I'm not looking at it in that sense, I'm looking at it as more like we all hold different energies, and some of us are not as conscious in our energy as others. And so when we're in that state where we're getting closer to God, we can see things that we never saw before. And it just gives you more clarity where you can go back to that person and be like, hey, I don't like how this ended yesterday. I can see I said this, or I may have done this, and I'm sorry that I offended you or made you feel a certain way. I want to fix this. I want to remedy this. And that's where a lot of people are having like this anger and stuff coming up. And a lot of times it's going to stem back from childhood trauma. But all right, well, I guess we better start moving into meditation, because we could be on here for hours. And of course, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask questions. We'd be more than happy to answer them. Or if you want us to get a little bit deeper with the subject, let us know in the comments and stuff, and me and Ryan will get together and figure out how we can take you a little deeper with some knowledge. And we're also planning some workshops, some free workshops and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on. But all right, I know, right? So excited. So, Ryan, I will ask, what is meditation to you? And what are some of the different types of meditation? Because we all have gotten into that point where we think meditation is sitting like under a tree or something, cross-legged, going, But there's different forms of meditation. And so we wanted to share that with you guys to let you know that meditation is not just sitting, cross-legged, going om, or sitting there for hours. There's different forms of it. So I will give you the floor to let you answer that.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Okay, you know what immediately comes to mind is just the fact that, meditation, like you say, for ages has just been thought of as a practice where you sit down, you kind of, that hand movement that you do, but you know what, that's only one form of meditation. I really want to say that, I really want to emphasize that, because the way that I like to think of it, there's two types. There's passive meditation, which is more kind of the one that we're familiar with, where you kind of sit cross-legged, maybe on the ground, maybe in nature, something like that, and you're just kind of chanting, not saying these aren't powerful tools, but there's more to it. And then the other one that I also really, really love as well is active. I think active for me, it very much involves movement, like stretches. It involves the breath work. So like we were saying before about breathing in, letting the oxygen flow to all the different parts of your body, and breathing out. If you're combining that with movement, like for example, there's one breath work that I do where I'm breathing in for about 4 or 5 seconds, holding it to really feel the oxygenation, and breathing out. And then if I do that and twist my body into those different sides, I'm really able to feel like I'm releasing, I guess, gunk or stagnant energy reserves, because I think sometimes, we're going throughout our day and we're just collecting so much stuff, and sometimes we don't even realize it gets stuck in those parts of the body. And I feel like meditation, it helps us first to connect to those parts of ourselves, really reclaim them, but also to disengage from all of those sources, from all of those things that are not serving us. And you know what, I really do love the thing you were saying before about when you're angry, well, when someone's angry, I'm not assuming you're angry, of course. But when someone's angry and you go into the room and you can feel that energy, and I think the reason why you can feel that is because we're wired to connect to other people, to our environment, to the earth, to God, and meditation is one of the ways of intentionally connecting with source, with spirit, and at least for me, I have used it mainly for visualization, mainly to heal my body, you know, a body scan where I'm kind of seeing, for example, my heart. I might be burdened by something. I might be feeling anxious. And I think meditation helps me to be aware and really kind of focus on those different parts of myself. I feel like meditation for me has always been the drawing of spiritual and physical senses combined with a very certain intention to achieve a certain outcome. But I think the best ones that I know that work for me have really been walking out in nature, because I'm able to connect to the earth. I mean, it sounds so simple, but when you walk, the reason why I feel like nature really helps you is because naturally nature is designed to draw out the waste products from your spirit body, from your physical body, and produce more oxygen and spirit in turn. Engaging the mind by concentrating on the nature, concentrating on your breath, concentrating on letting things go. But I think meditation can also be a tool to focus on those areas of your life that you want to dive deeper into. I mean, we can go
Yeah.
in the future for sure, but we can use meditation to, you know, dive into the spirit world and see the heavens and things like that. Things that we've both had experiences in. We can tell you that well. But was there anything that you wanted to ask about that, Phoenix? Anything that you
well, actually, some things that I wanted to add on to that, because right before you said it, you were like, we were totally connected on that same energetic wavelength, because I was thinking to myself, being out in nature when I'm walking with my son, you know, it just is so relaxing because it's so peaceful and it's so quiet. And even if the birds are chirping and singing as you're taking your walk, it kind of just like, it's like nature's natural music, and your whole body and your senses are just taking all of that in, because that was one natural way that our ancestors were able to connect with higher powers and their higher self, as well as internally, is, you know, breath work, meditation. And if you combine those when you're outside in nature, even if you're taking a walk, wow, super powerful. And it's like, for me with meditation, like how you were talking about, you know, it can take you to higher realms and stuff like that. I've experienced a lot of that, as well as I've even activated my natural DMT in my brain. And
I bet that's an experience.
Oh, wow. It so was. And if I didn't know what was going on, I would have kind of freaked out, because normally, I don't know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you out there can relate with this, but the movie Coco, how when he goes into the other side, all those animals that are super bright and colorful and stuff, the spirit animals there, when you activate your natural DMT, that's kind of like what you're seeing is like things that are super brightly colored and stuff like that. Some, not all the time they are, because I've experienced several different spectrums on that. But it's like, some of us, you know, especially if we don't really know to follow our way spiritually, and then it's like we're thinking we're going crazy or we're losing our minds, because people didn't talk about this. They don't talk about this stuff because they're ashamed that they're going crazy and they don't want other people to know, and they're like, I can deal with this. But that was the old ways. That was like my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents' ways of thinking. You know, like, I can't share this with somebody because they're going to think this chick is crazy. She's off her rocker and she needs to be put away. And it's like, we're actually connecting with parts of ourselves and connecting with God directly. Yeah. You know?
100%.
Yeah. Where we're just taking that into ourselves. And so for me, meditation has helped me so much. I've done so much inner child healing that that's what I found out, that's where my anger came from. Like most of my life, I was so angry, and it got to a point where even my family was scared to talk to me because they never knew if they were gonna get the loving version of me or the temperamental, and it was just because of all the pain and the suffering that I internalized as a child, and just kind of, it was coming out in anger as I got into my teens and my early 20s and stuff like that. And as I started to meditate and breathe and the inner healing, I was focusing more on healing my inner child wounds and bringing those to the surface and letting them go. And people started to notice, like my children started to notice, I can talk to my mom and she's not snapping at me, And even my youngest, he's very vocal with me. So when he started noticing that first, he was just like, I love my new mom. I loved my old mom, but my new mom is the mom that I knew was in there. And don't we all relate to that? We can all relate to that we're being hidden in plain sight. And it's like we're hiding from our true selves, from our true authentic selves. Because somewhere along the line, something happened to us when we were younger that made us go within and hide, because we didn't feel safe to be us and to really show the love that we have in our hearts, and even throughout those angry moments, it was like my heart still had so much love, and my brain was just like, why are you being this way, And my heart's like, no, that's not us. Don't do that.
You're fighting against yourself.
And so there's that brain heart argument going on in there. But
Oh yeah. Wow. I think I just have just one follow-up question, and it is kind of, I guess, slightly going into the next one. But I think it's an important one to ask, but where did you feel like your anger came from, and how were you able to see what it was? How were you able to focus on it and dissect it, and then in turn turn it into triumph and a sort of transformation?
So I'm going to say within the last 5 years is when I've really been doing the deep dives within myself. Because that's just when my heart was leading me, you need to go this way. Stop listening to what everybody's telling you and trying to make you be, and just be you and go this way. So I kind of felt like I was being guided from higher powers to find my internal love and to really let it out, to share. For me, it was just starting meditation, and it's kind of like you have to go through peeling these layers off of yourself. An onion is like layers and layers, and you figure
layers on layers.
Things have happened throughout our whole lives, but it's having to go through and peeling off the layers, one step at a time. And your body knows what to do when you're meditating, when you're breathing. It knows how much of that layer it can peel off to reveal to you without taking you into such a depth that it's like you're spiraling in a downward spiral. It's like you'll kind of get a smidge of a downward spiral because you're accessing memories, you're accessing trauma, you're accessing all of that kind of stuff throughout your whole body. It's not just your mind, not just what's in your heart, because the mind holds the memories, the heart holds the pain and the emotion. Your body also holds pain, and anytime you've got any of this stuff going on throughout your body, if you have pain, tension, discomfort, illness, disease, it's all because there's deep embedded trauma trapped in your tissues. And from what I've found out personally is hips, shoulders, neck,
Wow.
Recently, I've been releasing trauma from my torso, like my stomach and stuff like that, and my chest. But most of the time, it's been from my hips, my lower back, my neck, my shoulders. And our bodies just hold on to this stuff. So as we're pulling those layers off, we're releasing some of that trauma out of our bodies. And I went from being in chronic pain, having to take pain pills, muscle relaxers to ease that pain because it was so bad that I couldn't handle it. I needed help.
Wow.
And then I started to realize, like, the medication I was taking was not letting me function as a mom. I couldn't take care of my kids because as soon as I would take hydrocodone, I was like, I had maybe the length of time until it kicked in. Once it kicked in, it was like all I wanted to do was sleep. So how can I function as a mom? Yeah. It was like I couldn't work on taking those. I would have to work in pain and then come home, cook dinner, clean, bathe. Then I could take my medication to help alleviate the pain. And it got to a point where it was too detrimental, and I stopped taking it because it was almost like I was starting to get addicted to it and I didn't want to.
Wow.
So I quit cold turkey taking it. And then I started taking weed. Not smoking it, I was eating it to help. But I was able to function because I could take dosage and dose how much to just get rid of the pain, but still be able to do everything I needed to do and be present for my kids. And then it was like, then I started to use it a little bit more frequently. Then I started to use it for spiritual purposes and set the intention for spiritual purposes to help my body to release the trauma that was so ugly, I'm gonna say, that it was like my inner child was scared to face that, relive those emotions and stuff. And so I had to ease myself into that. And so it's like, instead of using plant medicine, because weed is plant medicine, as just like recreational, I started to use it for healing purposes, you know, to actually be able to dive so deep within myself that I was able to grab those things by the root and bring them to the surface and release. And so trauma, abuse and stuff, that's where my anger was tied into, was abuse. And it went all the way back. For right now, I actually was able to go back to gestational trauma, which is like when you're in your mother's womb.
Yeah. Wow.
And I've actually been able to go back into ancestral trauma to heal certain things that have been in my ancestral line. And it's really helped to come so far. But, you know, I'm mid-40s. I know I don't look it. Everybody freaks out when they find out. But I'm just like, I don't feel my age. I feel like I'm in my late 20s. But it's because of the work that I do, the inner work that I do, that as you release burdens, you age backwards. Your body ages backwards. Like, you look younger yourself. And it's just part of taking care of yourself. People just need to look at it as like, as long as you're starting, you're going to benefit yourself. And you're also not just healing yourself. If you have children, you're helping to heal them because they are a part of you. So as you heal yourself, you're healing your DNA, which is also healing your children because they're part of your DNA. We'll get into more of that stuff later.
Yeah, I'm sure it could be another podcast episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then what I'm going to ask you is, how did you get started in meditation?
Yes. Oh my gosh. See, I think I've always been a very inquisitive, curious child. So I think one of my favorite things when I was younger, maybe from around the ages of 5 to 10, was just to, sit with my family, and they would discuss, stories about things that they were seeing in the spirit, discussing stories about, seeing shadows, and my dad in particular, how he would go into these houses and they would see, horrific things. I wouldn't want to see them, because he saw like someone hanging down, and he like predicted, like the death of my mother's mum, so my grandmother, things like that. Growing up hearing stories like that, I was like I immediately had a thirst for the spiritual world and the unseen. And so I think that's the background. The fact that I already grew up really interested in the stories that I was hearing from my dad, my mum, even from my aunt as well, because she was learning how to divorce from her husband, and she went through a lot of trauma, like yourself, and she was trying to find herself, and we could see that happen. And we saw what it took. We saw her have to give up a lot of those things, but we saw her come out of it on the other side a different person, someone who felt reclaimed, someone who felt redeemed, someone who was in triumph. And of course you're going to ask questions as a child when you see someone like that. So of course it started there when I was a child, and then I think
it's almost like a remembrance, like you're remembering something that you kind of forgot, with amnesia of being born in
right, literally.
yeah. And so I resonate with you on that, because I myself grew up hearing stories from my mom. Told me stories, my sisters told me stories, experiences that they had, and I was so fascinated listening to them. But my journey didn't start until a bit later, when
I'm the same way.
I was starting to see certain things, and then I went to Sedona, and that opened up something where my clair audio started to kick in.
Right, yes. And then
that was interesting.
Oh, I bet.
How did you start to meditate, and what did you personally witness of how it benefited you once you started meditating?
So I think I think I want to say I started it when I was around 15 and 16. So having had the context of the things my family were discussing, the context of my aunt who got into meditation and yoga and things like that, the first thing that I actually started with when I was 15 was yoga as well. And you know what? It was a really innocent reason why I started it. I was overwhelmed with my coursework. I really needed something to relax. I was scattered. I was just so unfocused. And the thing is, there are so many, teenagers and young adults who I know will be listening to this, even adults too, who can think back on those times and just think about how overwhelming it was, just how much help that we didn't get. And back then I was looking for something to help me. I was looking for a way out, because we just had exams and we had expectations, and we were just, you just have to go to university and you have to do amazing. And so I remember looking up meditations, and the first thing that I came to was yoga. And I remember every single morning I would do this 15-minute yoga exercise from Yoga with Adrian. It was like a 15-minute for like brain power to like boost my cognitive intelligence and my focus. And I would do it with my brother, and it became like a community activity where the more that I started to get into it, like yoga and breathwork and something called Silver Ultra Mind, which I can dive deeper into as well, the more that I saw my family dive deeper into it as well. And of course, when you see results from something, for example, from me going to really scattered and unfocused and looking for a way out to, I guess, more joyful, more alive, and just, it felt like, I had the same amount of time, but I was doing a lot more with the time. And I think that's the key in my life when it came to meditation. It felt like I reclaimed the time that I had lost, you know, the person that was within, and it was like all those memories of my past, of me as a child, came flooding back. And I not only saw how it brought me closer to the past and also my future self, but also I saw how it brought us all closer as a family, as a unit. So it started with yoga. It started with breathwork, Silver Ultra Mind, which essentially, in a nutshell, is just like visualization. It's being able to, I guess, tap into like matter, for example. So there's one exercise where you get a leaf, and it's almost like you're training your senses. You're training the natural abilities within you to be able to connect to the world. And you know, after that, it was visualization. It was this thing called Life Book. It was just really trying to discover what it is that I wanted to do with my life. So I feel like, yeah, it just started really innocently with yoga, and from there it just kicked off into this wonderful thing. And that's the thing with meditation, you know, you start in one area and then you get to see just how widespread it is, and then you get to find the thing that really suits you, and you get to pick and really feel your way through that. I want to say the way that I started, it was just me feeling stressed, like any other teenager, like going through their exams, trying to find a way out. And you know, if you're one of those teenagers or one of those young adults or one of those people right now who are stressed and worried, you know, I want you to know there is hope. And you know, it may seem really simple, it may seem like no way, it's not going to help, but just sitting down with yourself, you know, connecting to your breath, it just does something to you that it's like it connects you to that part of yourself that you've been missing this whole time. And wow, it's a journey, you know, and what better way than just to start where you are and see where it leads you, right? Yeah.
And I can relate on that because, you know, as you're speaking, I'm like, you know, that's where I started too. I started doing yoga because being a massage therapist, I was like in between patients, I would do yoga stretches to help my body release the tension from what I'm working on my patients. And then I started going from just those kind of stretches into doing like a quick 10-minute yoga, you know, to align my chakras. And then I started doing yoga to like as an exercise, and I really enjoyed it. But then that's when like it was bringing up some of that trauma and pain in my shoulder from my accident, and so I had to stop doing it because there's certain movements I couldn't do anymore. I was like, but I can relate with that, with going into yoga. And now I'm more into the deep dive meditations, where if I feel something surfacing and I know it's going to be big because I can feel it in my body, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be a deep dive. And I let my family know, like, hey, I have to have me time. And when I come out, that's when we can connect and talk and stuff. But until then, like, I need quiet. I need my space, because when I dive deep, I'm so deep in my mind that if somebody would interrupt that, it's almost like they're scaring me awake, like when you're in a deep sleep and you get scared awake. But it's like I can sense everything that's going on around me. So just make sure that you have a safe, quiet space, you know. Even if you're driving in your car, park somewhere, lock yourself in the car, take like 5 minutes and just slowly breathe, close your eyes. You can put your hand on your heart so you're feeling yourself, you're feeling that center. And so like you were talking about finding parts of yourself that have been almost like missing, or like you're searching for something, but you're searching for you. You're searching for pieces of yourself that have been like fragmented and displaced because your body is disharmonized and you don't feel whole. And so that's when a lot of people end up searching for someone because they think that somebody can fill that void for them,
or a drug,
and then
or something like that.
Then it's like you find out that it's not that person or animal or whatever is not filling that void, and it's because your soul is like, there's a piece of me that's missing that we left somewhere. We need to go find it and bring it back to us, you know? And so it's like, as you're going through your journey of meditation and breath work, or however you're working on healing yourself, there's never a wrong way, you know, whatever way that you're being guided is the right way to do it. We're just bringing information and sharing our experience and sharing our information. We're not saying you have to do this. We're just teaching that any way you do it is the correct way for you, and to keep what you feel makes you happy. So meditation makes you happy. Taking a walk, whether it's in nature, just walking around your neighborhood, makes you feel happy, makes you feel good. It takes the weight off your body. That's meditation. Yoga is meditation. Running is meditation. Anytime where you are focused in you and your body, and you can feel what's happening in your body, that is a form of meditation. And like you said, there's active meditation, and then there's more quiet meditation, where
you need both.
Yes. Both. And it's like just finding what works for you at that time. Go with that. And maybe down the road it's going to change. Maybe you're in active meditation because you're working out a lot of stuff out of your body, bringing trauma and stuff to the surface. So, and then later on you're just like, you know what, I'm going to switch to more of a more peaceful, relaxing meditation, adding breath work. Wherever you're guided, that's where you're guided.
There's no wrong answer, is there?
Yeah, no. And people have to understand that there is no wrong way that you're healing. Even speaking to like counselors and therapists, that's a form of meditation too. It's because you're speaking, you're sharing, you know, what's been bothering you. And a lot of times when you talk out loud, you're also hearing yourself. And so you're activating different parts of your brain to help release things that have been stuck.
Wow. Yeah. It just seems like there's so many different uses for meditation. And yeah, I think this question, it just so effortlessly kind of, I guess, moves on from the things that you've been speaking about. It's like a progression. But you know, how do you feel like we can utilize breath work and meditation to, you know, connect to our life purpose and to really heal those parts of ourselves? How do you feel like we can utilize those practices to do that?
So for me, it's like using breath work calms the thoughts, because you know, when you try to go into meditation, sometimes your brain's just like, I forgot to, you know, like do the dishes. I forgot to do my laundry. Oh, I should really clean my room. And you're just like, whoa, pump the brakes. Well, I'm supposed to be meditating here, not worrying about what I did or didn't do. It's so doing the breath work first. You're already focusing on your breath as you're breathing. And that is calming the thoughts. It's calming the mind down. Then the body follows. So when you're able to actually go into breath work, you're not having all these racing thoughts, you know, that people associate with ADD, ADHD. That's what it is. It's just your mind is just working overtime. And with electronics stuff, you know, because nowadays we've got the shorts. So it's like it's training our brain to only be able to handle 7 seconds to a minute of attention span. And no, it's not healthy. So it's like going within yourself. Breath work and meditation helps to get you away from the electronics that is amping up the thoughts and spiking a lot of negative things, because when you're on social media, a lot of times, what are you seeing? People are going crazy, people are killing people, there's disasters, natural disasters and stuff. That's out of your control. And so when you keep putting yourself into that situation where you're getting a lot of that feed, your body is just, and your mind is just like, I can't handle all of this ugliness and this negativity, and where's the beauty? And your body and your mind are trying to fight to bring you back into yourself, bring you back into that beautiful, blissful, happy, loving state. And breath work brings that into your body. It centers you. So then that way, when everything calms down, when those negative thoughts are not there, you're able to go into a meditative state and just be with yourself. And like you said, self-analyze from the head down, see where the tension is, and ask that part of your body to release that tension. Or ask, what is this tension trying to hide from me?
Right.
And sometimes we forget to ask our body, like with even emotions, anger. One thing I'm going to tell y'all, it's okay to be angry. We've always been told our whole lives we cannot be angry. Anger is an emotion. It's hiding something deep inside that when we were children, we were so little, we couldn't speak our minds. And when we did, we were told to shut up. You know, kind of like be seen but not heard. You're being too loud. Because our parents were dealing with the stuff that we're dealing with, but they couldn't talk about it. So it's like we're learning that it's okay to be angry, but what it's not okay to be when you're angry is actively angry where you're telling people really ugly things and hurting somebody. Because when you're hurting, it's not okay to hurt somebody else. That's the best time to isolate in a room or something. Do some breathing to calm down and ask yourself, why am I angry? What is this anger hiding? What is it trying to show me? Guess what? You're going to get the answer. You're going to get the answer. It's going to come up where maybe it's a memory that's associated with an emotion. And the most difficult part is sitting with that before you release it. Because we're not used to sitting with an emotion. It's uncomfortable. But you release that from your body. And it's like you have to release the things that have been stuck and stagnant in you to be able to connect with different parts of yourself, like happier, loving, blissful, peaceful, calm aspects of yourself to connect with your purpose. Because if you're angry, how are you able to help other people if they're going to trigger you? That purpose is not going to be there. God, source, universe, whatever you believe in, is not going to be like, well, you have anger, hate, ugliness in your heart. I want you to go live your life purpose and help other people. Because that's not going to work. You're going to be clashing and butting heads with other people. So as you release that, you're finding the love for yourself. You're able to step into sharing that love with other people, but you're also setting boundaries so then that way people are not able to do the same things that they used to do before to hurt you. And setting boundaries is just a loving way to give yourself self-love. but you're also lovingly telling the other person, hey, I'm not going to put up with you the treatment that I put up with before, because that's part of my self-love.
I think the thing that sticks out to me out of everything that you said is, well, first of all, a lot of it resonated to me because it was just like flowing like living water, first of all. But I think the thing that you were saying about, you know, how if you're angry, you're not going to be able to connect to your life's purpose because it's almost like you're rejecting your life purpose. And the way that I see it, it's like we have to connect to those parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable. We have to connect to those shadows. We have to be able to brave the unknown and not be afraid of them, because I think that's really half the battle. Half of the battle is, you know, braving past the fears and deciding that you're not going to let it own you, that you're not going to let it control you. And then it's once you're sitting with those emotions, once you're sitting with those fears, once you're sitting with that anger, and once you trace it back to the points in your past and let it all go and reclaim those fragments, that you're really able to see yourself and the purpose that you might have. And I think one of the interesting things as well that I'm going to add on top of what you said before is I think oftentimes, you know, a lot of the trauma that we've gone through, that we've been experiencing, is very ingratiated into our purpose. So, you know, for example, you know, me as a child, kind of looking around me, seeing people do all these things, you know, telling me that I just had to work a 9-to-5 job and that I would just kind of have to squash myself down, kind of what you were saying before about like, you know, seen but not heard, and all these kinds of limiting beliefs. And as a child, all I'm asking is this all there is to life? And I think that my purpose now is just to spread more light, to spread my natural joy to other people, and whether that's through writing, which is something that I've been able, I honestly include that as meditation, because I have to sit down and really channel these worlds, these characters, these tropes, these arcs, and all these things, and it just flows out of me. But also the other side of it is just being someone who, like we've touched on, is not afraid to face those shadows and those parts of themselves that others have called undesirable, or those parts of myself that felt unloved or unworthy or just felt forgotten, I think. So it's just everything that you said was incredible there.
On that, what I want to touch on that is because you're speaking of parts of yourself that have been undesirable, that you've hated, right? So, you know the saying, you're your own worst enemy? Now here's something that's going to be, okay, ready? So, Matthew 5:44 talks about Jesus saying to love thy enemy.
Wow,
now,
I love that link.
When you look at that saying of you are your own worst enemy, and the Bible verse says, love thy enemy, what is that telling you? To love yourself as well as love others that you are deeming as an enemy because of the conscious level that we're at that moment. But it also talks about loving your neighbor as well as yourself, you know? And growing up, you know, in like a Christian environment, that verse, love thy enemy, love thyself, love thy neighbor, has stuck with me my whole life from being a child. So it's like, I wanted to bring that in because I'm like, okay, you know, we're tying some like biblical stuff in with spiritual stuff, because me and you, we've gone through that part of the journey where we can see how everything is connected, how science is connected, how, you know, just everything you could possibly think of, it's all connected. It's kind of almost like a big spider web connected. And that kind of takes us into like the internet, you know? It's all connected. But yeah, I wanted to bring that in because I was like, that is such an important verse. And that just popped in my head like, we're our own worst enemies. And the Bible actually tells us, love thy enemy. It's not only talking about an external enemy, it's talking about the internal enemy too.
Mhm.
But we also need to spread love with other people. And so when we're stuck in that state of anger and real low vibrational stuff that just don't make you feel good inside, you can't stand in your purpose because you're going against yourself at that time. You're hating an enemy within. So until you love the enemy within, you cannot step into your purpose. You can't step into your calling because you haven't accessed those levels within yourself to heal from whatever traumas, pain, and suffering that you've gone through in your life. So I found that really delicious, and I had to share that.
Wow, I really love that though. Honestly, I just have one more quick question for this because it's so fascinating. But do you think that we've been taught to hate ourselves?
We're being taught about fracturing ourselves. Little by little, we're losing aspects of ourselves that we enjoy. How much we've been conditioned to suppress who we really are.
Every culture has their own term for life force or breath. And even in the Bible, what does it say? The life is in the blood.
You can recognize something like that in another person. How many times I walked into church settings, I didn't feel the love. I have so much love, but how do I get to it?
We're coming here to really hear the things that no one else is talking about.